everyone, welcome to another Time for Tea Designs video. Today's video is the edited version of last night's Facebook Live tutorial. During our event last night, we actually talked you through a brand new product, so the new release for January, and I'm going to show you part of that new release in tonight's video. I'm also going to be making a really cute Valentine's card using our Woodland Critters Stamp set. So this is from the last release, and I'm going to be using the brand new Masking Stencils. So these are a new product for us. There are 13 stencils in the collection, and these are the two hearts. So we've got the small heart mask and the large heart mask. And I'm just taking my image that I'm going to use in the card and just seeing which size I'd prefer. The stencils themselves, when you see me use them, you'll see that the area that's masked off is positioned perfectly for an A6 card in the UK or a US A2 size card. So this is the mask stencil here, and you'll see on that stencil there are some etched lines. So this is my A6 card blank, and I'm using those etched lines to line up my card blank, just using some washi tape on the back of the card blank there. And you can see now that my heart is perfectly positioned in the top center of my card blank, so it's perfect for placing my images. So I'm just going to do some ink blending now. So I'm chosen my colours previously. The Scattered Straw, Tattered Rose and Warm Lipstick is a really nice combination. And as I've been making samples of all of the masking stencils, I've really enjoyed playing with different colour combinations and making lots of different backgrounds. So and I know that when you see these stencils and you get hold of them yourself, you'll have hours of fun just making backgrounds and pretty colour combinations of your own. And these, you can see the blending brushes there that I'm using. These are 3 new blender brushes that we're introducing as well in January. So these will be in a set of 3, and they are the medium size brush. So you've got the pink, the black and the blue, and these are perfect for these smaller areas. So this is the smaller of the heart mask stencils. We also have a grid stencil with some smaller hearts on. So again, these smaller size brushes are absolutely perfect for getting into those smaller areas. The brushes, if you haven't already seen them, create this really beautiful airbrushed effect because of the way that the bristles are designed. The way that the handles are designed mean that they're much easier for you to use. A lot less pressure is required, and you don't get any of those harsh lines that you would get with a traditional tool. So before I remove the mask from my card blank, I have decided that I just wanted to add a little bit more decoration to that masked area. So I've taken the Be Happy stamp set, and I'm taking one of the tiny hearts from that set, and I'm going to add some embossing ink to that image. So I've just used my anti-static bag over the heart there first, and now I'm just going to randomly stamp this image. And the reason that I've left the mask in place is that some of those hearts will go off my page to make it look like it's patterned paper, and that means that we'll have a nice clean line onto the card blank itself. So now I can remove that mask and my washi tape from the back of my card, and now we're going to heat emboss that ink with some white embossing powder. So you see there, I've just managed to pull a little bit of my card on the back. Now, previous methods of masking, you may have needed to use a lot of masking tape on the front of your card and potentially ruin the front of your project. These masking stencils stop that from happening. So yes, that's on the back, but nobody's going to see that. So I've just applied my heat tool to the bright white embossing powder and just setting that in place. and then we'll pop that to one side just to let that fully cool down. So while we're doing that, I'm moving on to my little fox image. So I'm using my stamping platform and some Memento Tuxedo black ink, as I'll be using my Copic markers today to colour him in, and I'm just pressing that down firmly to get a nice clean impression. You just saw Ant there. He was telling us about how many chocolates he was eating while we were in the middle of our demonstration. So yeah, this is definitely the time of year for overindulging. So while we were crafting, we were enjoying a few chocolates. So you can see the colours that I'm using there just at the top of the screen. I did actually use Pinterest for a little bit of inspiration as to the colours that I should use. I didn't have all of the colours that were suggested in my stash, so I am just going to improvise a little bit. My E11 and my E08 were a little bit of a distance between each other. So actually I think that might be the E13, but still there's quite a little bit of a difference between the colours. So I'm just using the tip to tip technique, where we apply the lighter colour to the tip of the darkest shade, and that creates a mid-tone for us. So I'm just going back over each of those colours just to make sure that they're fully blended in. And then I will finally go in with my darker brown, which is the E15, to add a little bit of shadow. I've used the R20 and the R32 to colour in the little ears, and then I'm going to use the warm grey tones just to add a little bit of colour to the lighter areas of his fur. So you can see here that I am just adding that darker shade of brown to create a little bit more depth, and now going in with the lightest warm grey shade to add a little bit of depth to his face. So that just gives a little bit of shape and roundness, a little bit of shadow at the bottom of his little face there. So some really nice, quick, easy colouring, and we're now going to cut him out using the coordinating dies. So now he's been cut out. We'll give you a little bit of a closer look at the colouring there, and he's just really sweet. So now we're going to move on to our sentiment. As part of the Woodland Critters Stamp set, there's this really sweet sentiment, which is "You are Foxy." And this is the perfect one for our Valentine's themed card. So I'm just using my stamping platform to really help me get that lined up. And I'm actually using a piece of black cardstock, but you can barely see that against the background of the stamping platform, but it is there. And I'm using my my Wow embossing ink and then some of the Wow bright white embossing powder to create my sentiment. I'm just going to set that powder in place with my heat tool, and there you are. That's made for a really nice, clean, crisp sentiment. We're going to use one of the banner dies that's in the Best Fishes banner and frame set. So we used this in a previous tutorial, as that also contains our slider die. So it's a really useful set of dies, that particular set. And I've just trimmed off the edge just so that it's the right length for our project. So before we pop all of our images in place, I did just want to add a little bit more decoration to the front of our card. So to do that, I'm going to use the same heart stamp that we used earlier in the background for our masked heart. And I'm going to use the same inks that we used to blend colour into that heart shape, and just randomly stamp some of those little images into the background so that they look like they're almost falling leaves or falling confetti. It just makes for a really pretty decoration. So I just felt I needed one more pink one just down at the bottom, just going off the side of the page, and that's enough to just make a little bit of an extra little bit of decoration on the front there. So now we're ready to attach each of our elements. So I'm using some of my 3D foam squares to pop on the back of our little fox image so that he's raised up. The great thing about these stencils is that you can create one layer cards really easily. So that really helps with postage, makes for a really nice, clean and simple look. But I did want the fox himself and our sentiment to be raised up. So I'm using a little bit of shaker tape on the back of our sentiment, and then I'm just going to pop that underneath our little fox there. And then it's just adding some finishing touches. So I'm using my Jelly Roll pen to add some highlights to the eyes, across the top of his head, and then to his tail, and then around his back there. And then I'm going to use my black glaze Jelly Roll pen to add a little bit of shine to his nose. And then I thought that it might be nice to just add a little bit more dimension to those hearts. So I'm taking my Nouveau glitter drops and I'm adding that to just some of the yellow hearts. So I'm just picking out those and just adding that shimmer. I did have a little moment here where I thought I wasn't quite sure whether I liked the effect of that, but the finished card, I actually did like how that turned out. So but once I'd done one, I thought, right, well, let's persist and see what that looks like. So I've done that on the yellow hearts, but then I went for my clear crystal drops for the pink. So they will just look slightly glossy and raised once they dry. So I'm just adding that to each of the darker pinks, and then the pale pink, the tattered rose, I'm just going to leave as is. So that's our card complete. I hope you enjoyed today's project. I think this is a really sweet card for Valentine's Day, and it's really nice to look back through some of your stamp sets and see how you can use them for different occasions like we have done here. If you enjoyed the card and the tutorial today, then please do join us for further tutorials. This is the last one of 2019, so we will be back again in the new year with our Facebook Live on the first Thursday of January 2020. We look forward to seeing you then, and in the meantime, from myself and Ant, have a fantastic Christmas and a wonderful new year, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye now.